I've taken this gear shift knob here and I'm trying to see if I can fill in the engraved or recessed gear shift pattern. I have some of this fill-in paint. So this is, they call it a lacquer stick. And what I did was I heated this end up with a heat gun, and it kind of turns into a thick liquid. And so I smeared that around and pushed it down into all the recesses as far as I could. And now I'm letting it cool down and dry a little bit. It's kind of sticky right now. You can see it sticks to my finger. Once it cools down, it's pretty solid. So I'm going to let this harden up a little bit, and then I'll chuck this up in the lathe and see if I can sand off the surface, get it down to where there's just the black ABS plastic and then the white recessed lettering. And so yeah, I wanted to give you an update here. Tried this lacquer stick fill-in paint on the shift knob embossing, and it worked, but I think I made a few mistakes. One is I should have sanded this a lot smoother before I started, because there were the tiny grooves left from the layers on the 3D print, especially here on the top. Down here the steps are very smooth, but when you get to the top, since it's a shallow angle, you get some pretty good steps, and I didn't do a really good job there. But anyway, I learned a few lessons. So one is this paint stick doesn't really dry. I left it out for about 24 hours and it's still a bit tacky, and I chucked this up in the lathe and sanded off all the excess paint, and you know, it loaded up quite a strip of sandpaper. This is an old belt sander belt, but I got it down where it's pretty smooth. Isopropyl alcohol does a pretty good job taking this off, but then I tried some, it's either lacquer thinner or acetone. I forget what I have in my squirt bottle. I was worried that that would really melt the plastic, so that's why I tried the isopropyl first. But it turns out you get a really nice smooth finish here, so that acetone or lacquer thinner really helps smooth up the finish. So what I'm going to try next time is I'm going to sand this top and then hit it with the lacquer thinner and get it really smooth, you know, just shiny smooth like that, before I fill the numbers in. And then I was thinking, instead of this, which also kind of stains the material a little bit, you can see where I got a little drip, and you know, this is like paint and it really soaks in here. I was thinking, how about some drywall mud? So I've got some drywall mud. I was thinking of packing that in here, get a good thick layer, let it dry. I might need to do 2 coats to get these deep embossings to fill, and then that will dry. Okay, I printed another shift knob here, and this one I tried sanding and then hit it with the lacquer thinner on a rag to smooth it out. So I think I got it smoothed out. The one problem I noticed doing the sanding real heavy first is you end up filling in all of the engraved lettering there. So I tried cleaning it out, and I think what I'll do is just try putting some of the drywall mud in there, see if I can pack that in really tight, and then sand through this top layer a little bit more to try to cut down to the part underneath, because I think when you're sanding, probably the heat of sanding it causes it to sort of flow into the lettering a little bit. So I'm going to try this. Okay, YouTube, I think we have a winner here. So I took some drywall mud on a putty knife here and really worked it into all the recesses and just went around several times, let this dry overnight, and then just use the edge of the putty knife and just scraped off most of the residue. So I think pre-sanding this really helped, got rid of all the buildup in the little scratches. There's still a little bit there. Let's see what a little Scotch-Brite action does there. Yeah, that takes it off pretty good. So yeah, I think I'll go over that, probably chuck this up in the lathe and just get an even finish on all the sides. And then, being that the white powder from the drywall mud is water soluble, I should be able to wash this off in soap and water and not get the bleeding of the ABS into the white areas there, like I was with the lacquer paint. What I have is a drill bit here. Just try to get a uniform finish on these, knock the mud down a little bit below surface level. Take a little bit of that off. Need a smaller one for the numbers and letters there. But I think that's going to work pretty well. I'll maybe give it a day or two to dry, just see if there's any cracking in here. And if I need to, I can put a second coat on there and then let that dry, and then I'll completely sand it smooth, wash it off, and then I'll apply a couple coats of clear coat. So yeah, let me give this a day or so in the sunshine, make sure it's all fully dried before I do anything more with it. Because if I have to add a second coat of mud, we'll get this dried out and then see where we go from there.